Tattoo artists of Reddit, what was the weirdest / most disturbing tattoo a customer wanted? When I worked as a tattoo artist, a guy wanted us to tattoo his name on his infant baby, because as he put it, she's trying to say that's not my son. We threatened to call the guard because what the actual hell? We wouldn't tattoo anyone under the age of 18, even with parental consent, and we certainly wouldn't tattoo a baby. I had to laugh when I saw the episode of Archer, where he and the baby get tattoos. It was a grim reminder. Gardaí. Before people ask, Irish police. Several years ago I tattooed the words Jeffrey Dahmer in shitty scratchy writing on a girl's neck for her 18th birthday. She had been coming into the shop a lot with her friends as they got tattooed, and talking about it. She had the letters drawn up exactly as she wanted them and everything. The answer was always the same. No fucking way. When she finally turned 18 she came in with a few friends and asked again. I told her politely to fuck off with her shenanigans. A few minutes later her friend told her he could just tattoo it with the gun he got off eBay at home. I made the hard choice to do the tattoo to ensure that it wouldn't get infected or be all scarred up if she ever decided to have it removed. It's been circulating around the internet for several years. I still feel shitty about it and hope she got it removed. At least you did it for something other than money. This is the first time I've heard this phrase used when the thing other than money wasn't sex. I got a tattoo of Diddler Bob on my ass. To those unaware, Diddler Bob is the character from the episode of SpongeBob where SpongeBob finds a pencil and draws a copy of himself. The copy becomes alive and ends up being evil. While I was getting it, I asked the tattoo artist, so what's the dumbest tattoo you've ever given someone? His reply, honestly, probably this one. I've had it for a few years and have no regrets. Diddler Bob will live on underneath my boxers for years to come. Mihoimanoi. I have a buddy that has his anus tattooed and got it when he was high on shrooms. It's an eyeball. God help whichever tattoo artist had to do that one. I guess you could say they've seen some shit. Obligatory not a tattoo artist, but I did a series of renovations at a buddy's shop over a couple years. I was something like a skilled groupie. Strangest request I saw honored. Guy comes in, looking like a goth thug. He says his mom just died recently, and he wants to get a portrait done in her honor. He pulls out an 8x10 black and white nudie pic of his mom. I heard my buddy ask a question like, was your mom a burlesque dancer? The guy, deadpan, says, nah, man, nah. She was a stay-at-home mom. The finished piece was actually amazing, but clearly that family was a bit different than mine. Strangest request I saw turned away. Guy came in with a small group, maybe 4 or 5 people in their early 20s. He wanted a few disembodied dicks floating over a naked woman, spraying her with cum. That guy had a giant dick tattooed on his forearm. I was getting tattooed, and one of the guys at the shop refused to tattoo a couple flies around a girl's vagina and inner thigh. Why did he refuse? What tattoo did the flies want done that was so bad? Guy in my town did a touch up on a Holocaust survivor. One of the guys I served with, they were from a really fucked up area of the South, had a client come in to have his SS tattoo touched up in the 70s. He did it, and they turned the check into the FBI. Caught a war criminal that day. Another story was a guy that had all these weird names he wanted tattooed on his inner thigh. Turns out they were the names of several hookers that had been murdered, and his dad was able to call the cops. Some of the names were for people that hasn't even been reported missing. Guy never got caught. A friend who's a tattoo artist once told me about a guy who came in to have his own face tattooed onto his chest. His reasoning was, even if he got old, he could get chicks by showing what he looked like. Needless to say, when I told my dad about this, he beat me up with a bunch of jumper cables. HIV plus on the shaft of their penis. Apparently they felt it would qualify as informed consent and avoid bringing it up in conversation, but alas women do not see WIs inside their vaginas. There was a group of adults that walked into my tattoo shop for one guy to get a tattoo. At the last second they changed their choice from a baby coming out of his ass to a dog on one of his butt cheeks. Not a tattoo artist, but walked by a guy at Coachella who had a rib tattoo of a guy jacking off standing atop a pile of dead bodies. Not a tattoo artist, but I went to school with a girl that got a human heart tattooed on her asshole, and it says eat your heart out. Very interesting. Not an artist, but my best friend is. He sent me a snap of a girl with the Batman logo above her vagina with the quote "the Batcave." I immediately knew who it was and died of laughter. Now every man in town has visited the Batcave. I was apprenticing with my dad at his tattoo parlor, and on this particular day I had nothing to do, so I was just cleaning and answering calls. A 50-something-year-old man came in wearing denim shorts and thongs, sandals, with a whiffer beater on and the most magnificent mullet. He asked about finishing a tattoo he had gotten in Thailand. I asked him to show me, and when he did I couldn't even comprehend what was happening with it. It was a full back piece of a koala with one foot on the ground and the other on a fallen bottle of VB, holding a tattered Australian flag up in one hand, and shooting an AK-47 into the distance with the other. The koala also had the Southern Cross tattered on its chest. I referred him to another artist, and after they spoke he left. I haven't seen him since. All in all, a very weird encounter with the most boggin Aussie you could think of. Not an artist, but the artist I see said he has a guy come in and get naked Disney princesses tattooed all over his body. Like think topless Little Mermaid or naked Pocahontas. Then gets upset when people complain about them being visible when kids are around. Not a tattoo artist, but heard this story last night at a party. One dude of my family is a firefighter. He takes shower fully naked with other firefighter, except one dude that would always come with underpants. They asked him why so, and the guy replied that he got a tattoo on his ass that he wasn't proud of. He didn't want to show it until one day he felt confident enough to take the shower fully naked and reveal the tattoo he was so ashamed of. Turn out it was a dick doing skate. TLDR, someone have a dick doing skateboard tattooed on his butt. A tattoo of a penis on a penis. That's how you get twins. Not a tattoo artist, but I worked with a lady who had a picture of herself on the cross tattooed on her upper arm. Oh, and the tattoo self was naked, and she was happy cause he made my tits bigger on it. Not an artist, but I have a tattoo of a dick with a smiley face tattooed on my dick. The artist I found was so excited and told me that she had been waiting ages to tattoo a dick. Regularly messages me saying that people ask her about her most memorable tattoo and that it's mine. Obligatory. Not a tattoo artist, but I got chat shit get banged tattooed on my ass. The tattoo artist couldn't stop laughing and ended up tagging a picture of the tattoo. He didn't post the picture online, he just kept it to show to his mates. He also said it was the funniest tattoo he'd ever seen or tattooed. I can't remember, so I got a weird sense of pride from that. While I was getting tattooed I asked my artist this same question. She told me once a guy walked in and asked for a full back piece of a demon bending an old nun over and shazaming her, and for the nun to have huge feet. It was the only tattoo she ever refused. Not her artist and pretty tame, but I went to a tattoo parlor with my mate and his parents, where he got dazed and confused, tattooed on his chest just over his heart. He's only 16. Not my story, but this was an answer to another AskReddit that I read. The guy was a tattoo artist, and one day a man in his 20s comes into his tattoo shop and says he wants to get "I hate my mom" right across his forehead. The tattoo artist says no, and if he really wants it done to come back tomorrow. The dude comes back tomorrow and still wants the tattoo. The dude tells him again to come back tomorrow and ask for it. He comes back, and this goes on for a week or so. Eventually the dude gives up and says, okay, you can get the tattoo, but I'm not doing it. So he gets his other employee to do it. If anyone can find the original, that would be nice cause I'm just going off of memory. Some freak with green hair calling himself Mr. J got damaged, tattooed on his forehead. I have realistic nipples tattooed on my butt cheeks. The artist had a page of about 50 different pictures of nipples. I picked the ones I wanted and haven't regretted my crack accents. Not a tattoo artist, but a woman got on the train I was on, and she had a tattoo of an eye inside a triangle with the words "God is watching" on her forehead. Not a tattoo artist, but a friend of mine had Snoopy from Charlie Brown tattooed on his manhood. He said the ladies loved it. Not a tattoo artist, but my aunt wanted a tiger tattooed on her ass cheek that asked "Where's Pooh?" I was 10 when she explained this to me, so I didn't appreciate the humor of it and instead thought it weird. I do not know if she ever got it, but now I find it hilarious and stupid. Not a tattoo artist, but I know a guy who has appliances tattooed all over him. A microwave, a toaster, a blender, etc. He was planning on having them connected to a power strip on his back. Interesting fella. She told me a tattoo of a dick on her stomach. IDKY, but I did it, and she fucking paid me 70 when my asking price was 30 because it was so small.